Hello, hello, hello. Hello, everybody out there in Facebook and YouTube land. Please chime in, come on in, come on in. We have something for you. We have a special edition tonight. My bestest friend is not on yet. She is going to be coming on. As you guys know, we both work as mental health therapists, and so Stephanie will be coming on soon. So she is not on yet. She will be joining us, and so just waiting for everybody to kind of come in. We'll give everybody a chance to get in. We'll wait. Go ahead and like and share. Go ahead and invite your friends to come on in so that they won't miss out on this opportunity to talk about this special topic that we decided to come up with. You know, today is Monday, and we typically do not meet on Monday. We meet on Tuesday. However, I am blessed to be having some family time on this week. So we moved the day to today instead of tomorrow. Come on in, though. Come on in, share. For those who are normally on, if you don't see them on, go ahead and invite them, call them up, let them know that we are on the live and they don't want to miss this. Come in, like, share, go to YouTube, hit the notification bell so that you can get notifications every time we do a show here live, or every time we make a video and post, you'll get the notifications. So we're going to give people a few more minutes to jump in. I'm looking for my friend and my co-host to jump in here with me. She'll be on shortly. All right. You can. Get my live here together so I can see. There we go. So I can see when you guys are hopping on and when you have comments. Get my live here together so I can see. There we go. So I can see when you guys are hopping on. Comments. Get my live here together. Okay. It appears that my cousin Holly is on. If you are, hi, how are you? Hey, Mom, thanks for chiming in. We're going to get started in a little bit. I have a special guest today. And we're going to be chiming in with me just for a little bit. I've invited. No, they can't see you. You trying to be incognito? A little bit. Giveaway. Yeah. All right. So I have my daughter Monique here with me, and she is going to be listening in and just chiming in when she feels like it. Today we're going to be talking about emotionally unavailable. Are you holding back? I talked a lot about this topic this week, and this week just started right today, but a little bit of last week. We've been talking about this for some time, and it's prevalent, and a lot of people are interested in this. A lot of people are experiencing this, and perhaps some people are definitely guilty of being emotionally unavailable for whatever reasons. And so we're just going to talk a little bit about what that is, what that means, what to look for in a relationship. When I say relationship, we mean partners, yes, but we also mean any relationship, people being emotionally unavailable. Um, so we got some information for you guys. Okay. We're going to be talking about what it means to be unavailable, what that looks like. Um, if it, signs to look for in relationships, but also signs to look for in yourself. Are you emotionally available, unavailable? So we're going to be talking about those things and what causes it, possibly overcoming it. If that's the thing for people wanting to overcome that, not wanting to be emotionally unavailable, not being able to commit to people. Okay. So give me a few minutes and we're going to go ahead and get started. And as Stephanie comes on, then she will chime in with us as well. So the first thing I want to do is I want to define, and you saw in the description box of the live, hopefully on Facebook Live, the description of and how we describe what we're talking about, emotionally unavailable, and how you define that. And so I'm just going to read here really quickly a definition for you. So emotionally unavailable is defined as the inability or unwillingness to connect with other people on an emotional level. Commitment and intimacy fears, right? And so notice I said commitment and intimacy fears. So this can be related to anyone, not just romantic relationships. So somebody that's emotionally unavailable, typically they're emotionally unavailable in every area of their life as far as relationships are concerned, right? So what causes that? Sometimes people have where does that come from? It comes from a number of different places, right? It's not uncommon to find more than one cause of the heart of this issue. So it can stem from emotional or attachment issues in households, growing up, childhood attachment to primary caregivers that are emotionally unavailable. So let's just say like a child that's never hugged, or there's an assumption that that I love you because I take care of you, but there's no hugs, there's no kissing, there's no I love yous in the household, right? So if the caregivers don't show interest in a child's feelings or offer much affection and support, that person may have absorbed this as a relationship model. So this is what you do in relationships. You don't show interest in feelings, right? As an adult, your attachment to romantic partners might follow this pattern and tend toward avoidance. So people avoid those emotions because they don't want to be emotional or they don't know how to be, right? It's not necessarily the end of the world, because I believe people can learn this just like they learned how to be unavailable emotionally, how to run from commitment, if you will. Monique, you want to chime in? What do you know about being emotionally unavailable?
I have been on both sides.
I don't think they can hear you. They need to see you, honey.
No, I don't think they need to see me. I've been on both sides. Okay. I have been emotionally unavailable, and I have also been in relationships where the person is emotionally unavailable. And when I refer to relationships, I mean relationships like partnerships, friendships, relationship between siblings, relationship between me and my parents. It's all encompassing for me. So I've been on both sides.
Okay. I think it can also be a temporary thing. So many people living with mental health conditions like depression may have a hard time sustaining an emotional connection with their loved ones during a flare up. So during a time that they're having a meltdown, oftentimes people in depressed mood, they want to hibernate. They don't want to be bothered with people. And so it can be a temporary circumstance as well. So others might want to focus on their career, a friend having difficulties, or something else unexpected, right? So we're going to focus on something else. We're not going to focus on relationship because I'm not in the mind frame to be emotionally available, right? Another cause can be breakup grief, because I don't know how many of you guys out there know that grief is not just contingent upon somebody dying, but it's contingent upon something ending. So it could be a death because that ended, but also could be the end of, it could be grief because of a breakup in an intimate relationship. Grief can happen when you end friendships that are no longer working for you. Grief when you end a job that particularly you like. People think, oh my gosh, well, retirement is so great, but sometimes people might go through a depression after that, after leaving that job. So experiencing relationship pain can make it tough to become vulnerable with a new partner, right? This is especially true if you're recovering from an unpleasant breakup, right? If you're, or infidelity, or relationship toxicity or abuse, and we talked about those things on our live before. So ending relationships like that, or having a bad breakup that leaves you heartbroken, can also lead to being emotionally unavailable because the person may be afraid to get involved again because of the pain that was caused in a previous relationship. So any of these can contribute to feelings of low self-esteem, which can make it even more difficult to experience and share intimacy with someone. Okay. So these are some of the reasons and causes. So emotional unavailability doesn't have to be permanent. It's a complex issue though, and some underlying causes may be harder to overcome than others, right? Change only happens when someone is willing to work at it. So, but let's just go back to when we talked about being emotionally unavailable, because you grew up in a household where that wasn't demonstrated, right? People show that they love you in different ways, and they might feel like, well, I don't have to be touchy feely. I don't have to say I love you. I don't have to do any of that to show that I care for the person. And that gets deeper than that. And we're going to get into some of the things that you might want to look out for, to know whether you are emotionally available, or you've been in a relationship with someone, or are currently in a relationship with someone that's emotionally unavailable. Okay. What can you do to bring up concerning behaviors and point out compassionately how they affect your relationship, or how someone that's unavailable can affect your relationship? We'll get to that point. I just wanted to talk a little bit about some causes of a person being emotionally unavailable or afraid to share their feelings, right? Okay. So some things to look out for. What makes someone in a partnership, and I'm going to expand this to say even a friendship, what causes someone to be emotionally unavailable? It can be a little tricky. It might not be as easy to pan out, but many emotionally unavailable people have a knack for making you feel great about yourself and hopeful about the future of your relationship, right? Uh, but if after an encouraging start, you never connect more intimately, they might not be able to maintain anything beyond the casual involvement at that moment, right? We talk about this. Like I said, I've talked about this for some time now, because people are experiencing this, and then they're learning what this is, and that it's not necessarily their fault, that their partner is not available to them, or even to identify what it is, right? So here are some signs to know whether or not you are in an emotionally unavailable relationship with a partner, right? And I'm going to say even in relationship with anyone. People that are emotionally unavailable, they don't really like to make plans. The commitment, that commitment issue, that thing comes up again, right? They don't want to make plans. So people often show less inclination to make commitments, where the commitments are minor or more significant. It doesn't matter. They don't want to do it, right? It's difficult for them to do. Now, with that said, if that person is willing to get the assistance, then they can work on that. Maybe you suggest getting together next week, right? So if the person is reluctant to make plans with you, maybe you say, well, let's do that next week, right? Let's say they agree enthusiastically, yeah, I want to do that. I want to do that. So you ask what day works for them, then they got to check and get back with you. I'm not really sure. And then you never hear back from them. Anybody ever experienced that? then you never hear back from that person because they really did not want to commit to doing that. Or maybe they say, I'll pencil you in, I'll pencil that in. But when time comes to commit to it, to show up, they have a great excuse or why they can't make it. Right? Okay. Especially if you are an emotional person. If you are an emotional person and you are dealing in a relationship of any kind with someone that is not, and we call that an attachment issue as well. So someone who cannot attach or are unable to attach or be emotionally available, yeah, they're running. They're running for the hills. They're trying to get away because they don't want to be locked into this emotion. Why, one might ask? Well, because the reason for this is because I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to do what you're doing. It makes me uncomfortable, right? If you start to show emotions that I can't deal with, I'm out. I gotta go because I don't know how to deal with that. I don't know what to do with those emotions. The other thing is that people that are emotionally unavailable, they like to call the shots, right? When you see each other, they tend to choose what you do, usually an activity that aligns with their typical routine. It's about what they want to do. Um, I want to venture to say and believe because they're uncomfortable with what you might pick. They don't know what that is. So the unknowing, not knowing what that's going to be and what that's going to look like, that I'll choose. They might put on the latest episode of their favorite show, right? Because it's about them and what they want to do. Okay. This doesn't necessarily mean there's a problem, especially if they seem receptive to your suggestions, right? I'm going to further say receptive, and we can go forward, or we can do something that you want to do this time, and the next time we're going to do the thing that I want to do, right? Um, but if they never ask what you like to do, and they seem irritated when you don't want to go along with their plans, it may be time to take a closer look at that relationship or that friendship. And I keep throwing that friendship in there because that is a relationship, right? Either a friendship, a romantic relationship, it doesn't matter. You want to be equally involved with whomever you have a relationship with. Okay. Um, who's experienced this one? Oh my God, this one is really good. Who's experienced this? You do all the work in the relationship. You do all the work. Can't remember the last time they sent you a text that wasn't a direct reply. So you got to text first. You got to call first, right? Now, that in and of itself might not be so bad um, in the beginning. But when it starts to be where you can't do anything, you can't make any plans at all, unless you are doing the work, unless you are calling, unless you are texting. If you do all the calling, texting, and planning, there's a good chance they are emotionally unavailable. They enjoy spending time with you, certainly when it works for them. One might ask, well, what's wrong with that? Like, if I don't want to do something, if I don't want to be involved, what's wrong with me not doing that? Well, a relationship is a two-way street. Any relationship is a two-way street. So, Monique, I know you've had experience to some degree with that, and I think maybe we all have to some degree had experience with that. I don't particularly care for that, and so if that happens with me, it's not going to be one-sided. It has to be reciprocal for me, right? So they enjoy spending time with you, but they don't want to work for it. So if you don't make things happen, they probably won't. They probably will not. Now, if somebody cares for you, they start to do the work, because we do the work when we want to do the work. They start to do the work so that they can kind of match the energy, right? But then there's some people who just are not going to do it. And you have to decide if you're going to keep those people in your mix. You got to decide if you're going to keep those people in your space, or if you're going to keep them in your space to a certain degree, right?
And you have to figure out if what y'all want and need align.
Exactly.
because I have friends that I can talk to twice a year, and it's no love lost, and it's it's that's just how it is.
Yes.
I have friends that I talk to once a month, and
And
then
that's
there are
fine.
people that I talk to on a regular basis, a very, very regular basis. You just got to know, and you have to love people through their love language. Yeah, I can't say, well, I like getting gifts, so I'm gonna get her a gift, and she better accept it, and she better like it. That might not be my love language.
Right.
Maybe I want a hug.
Mm-hmm.
You have to meet people
Right.
where they are and decide if what y'all want and how y'all.
If what you want are in alignment
Yeah.
with each other. If what you want are in alignment with each other, right? And again, people that sometimes when people tend to be emotionally unavailable, it shows up as them not caring about you and what you want. It shows up as selfish. That doesn't mean you can't say no to someone. That doesn't mean you have to commit to everything that somebody is doing. But when you're in a relationship, it's a two-way street. It's a two-way street, right?
And if you are the emotionally unavailable one, like I have been, I've learned to go back and like apologize, but also explain. Like, listen, this was not about you. I'm going through some things. You know, maybe if you see me disappearing, I need you to text me and just ask me, am I okay or whatever. I want people, I've gotten to the place where I don't explain myself to anybody, but if I really care about you and I was unavailable at the time that you needed me, I need to go back and rectify it.
Okay. So when you aren't spending time together with the person and you hear from them only rarely, and they are not going through something, let me just clarify that, because this being emotionally unavailable does not mean I'm not talking about you should check on your friends if they're going through a depression and that you hear from them regularly and now you're not hearing from them. You're right. I do have friends that I might talk to every so often, and we pick up conversation as if nothing, we have not missed any time. I'm not talking about the person who might be going through some things and might need some time to themselves or whatever the case may be. We're talking about somebody that's like this all the time. They're like this all the time, right? So again, when you're not spending time together, you don't hear from this person at all, or rarely. Maybe they take days to reply to messages or ignore some messages entirely, especially meaningful ones. And that's where we want to make sure that we're clear on. This is not just, they had a bad day. No, this is all the time. This person never contacts you, ever. Your communication is strictly because you did the communicating, right? They might say, I'd rather talk about important things in person to avoid having a conversation. But what good is that if they're not going to be in person, right? So, which sounds great, of course, until they don't follow up. Understand that when people are emotionally unavailable, that is their work to do. That is not your work to do. You just have to decide how, if and how you want to be in relationship with the person. Again, whether it's a friendship or it's a romantic relationship, understand what your needs are in that relationship and making sure that you're being fulfilled as well. So emotionally available people, they avoid the word relationship. So we're talking about an intimacy. So this is where it involves commitment and intimacy fears. Like they fear being intimate. They're afraid that you might get too intimate. So they want to say that they're not in a relationship. Now it may sound confusing because they may definitely be in a relationship with you, but don't want to call it a relationship. Too much of a commitment. So you might participate in relationship behaviors with someone, like go on dates, spend the night together, meet each other's friends, but they don't want to talk about having any official relationship with you. right? So doing all the things that you would typically do in a relationship, but they don't want to call it that. So as long as you keep dating casually, things go pretty well. But the moment you try to build a deeper commitment, they back up. They back up, right? Use caution if someone you're seeing says they want to keep things casual. Run for the hills, unless you want to keep things casual too. So I'll say that part because maybe that works for some. Um, Use caution if they talk a lot about a recent ex. That's all you hear about, right? Talk about unrequited feelings for a friend. So they're constantly talking about this friend, or they say they have a fear of commitment. If you know you want a committed relationship, if you know you are all in a relationship, these are the things you might want to look for. It's always possible you caught them at a time when they feel ready to work toward change. Usually, though, someone who says these things mean them. If they say I don't want commitment, if they say I just want a casual relationship, let me just say this, put this out there for the ladies. If a guy tells you he don't want a relationship, or he tells you he wants to keep things casual, if that is not what you want, then you need to honor what you want. You need to figure out what it is that you want, because being in a relationship trying to change someone who's emotionally unavailable is not going to pan out well for you. Even if they try to be available, you don't want someone that you have to kind of nudge them to change for you. You want someone to come into the relationship being available, right? Another thing is you never seem to grow closer. So in the beginning, the relationship is great. They openly share vulnerabilities. They say how much they enjoy spending time together, but then things never get serious. It doesn't mean that they don't necessarily want things to get serious. Again, we're talking about that commitment and that intimacy fear. It's tempting to try to make things work with someone who seems distant. You might believe they just need to find the right person, or you could be the right person. If you can reach them when no one else can, your relationship has the potential to last, right? No. You just have to try a little harder. No. This is how you get trapped into a relationship with someone that is not available emotionally, right? We don't want to try to change them. We don't want to try to make people do something they don't want to do, not comfortable in doing. It's a lot of work. It's work and it's their work. It's not your work. It's absolutely not your work. Okay. Unless they do some work themselves, you'll continue investing energy and time into somebody in this relationship with the goal of someday getting closer. Meanwhile, they'll keep avoiding you. They won't reciprocate. And so you'll drain yourself until you're too emotionally exhausted to continue. And then you'll think the relationship failed when if in fact it never really got off the ground. Okay. Hey Latrice, thank you for watching. They reflect their feelings, your feelings, instead of offering their own. So what does that look like? Pay attention to someone who responds when you share your emotions. Do they express their feelings uniquely, or do they mirror back what you say with I feel the same way? Right? You've been in a long-term relationship. You finally say, I love you. And they say, oh, I feel the same way. Pay attention to that. Not everyone likes to talk about emotions all the time, but in a relationship, it's important to connect on an emotional level. Again, if that's what you want, right? If you want a relationship that's going to sustain, emotions are involved. If your partner can't open up when you initiate a conversation and ask direct questions, they may be emotionally unavailable. How do you have a conversation on that level? One or two things are going to happen. Either you are going to back down and not be yourself, or one of three things. They will do the work so that they can become available, because that's what they want to do for themselves, not for you. I don't believe people should change for other people. They should change for themselves and grow for the better for themselves. or they'll get with the program for a second, but eventually it'll fizzle out. Okay. So we talked about them not wanting to make plans, but then when plans are made, they show up late or they blow them off altogether entirely. So not keeping commitments or consistently showing up late in us is a subtle way to keep someone at a distance. I've always had the thought process, and I could be wrong, this is just me, that when people are consistently late, they really don't have respect for other people's time, right? For whatever reason, whether they're afraid to get close, they're afraid to have a connection, as in this example, um, or they simply believe they should arrive when they feel like it. Your partner might still care and even apologize with sincerity, but they may care more about what they want to do and what they want and have trouble restructuring their lives around other people. Again, if you run into someone with this quality, or even if you have this, and we're going to talk about what happens if you're emotionally unavailable. So even if you are this way, if the person or yourself are willing to do the work, then do the work. Allow them to do the work, or you do the work, right? You have a little bit more to work with. If a person's not even willing to admit that they are emotionally unavailable and do the work, I don't know what you want to do with that. I want to say you want to run for the hills, but I'm trying to stay where I'm not, where there's no judgment. And if that's what you want to do, that's what you do. But if you want to be in an emotional connection, these are the things to look for, right? Because they're going to prioritize. They're not ready to prioritize relationship needs over their own needs. Okay. Same thing in relationships, platonic relationships. Again, one of the reasons for that is maybe they've never seen an example of that, or maybe trauma happened, because that's a thing. Maybe trauma happened in their lives where they've cut the emotions off, because pain is that pain, and it's painful, and nobody really wants to experience pain. And if they experience pain, which we all will, you don't want to experience it over and over and over again. So people start to shut themselves off. People start to become emotionally unavailable because they don't want to endure that pain. Could I be the emotionally unavailable one? Let's see. So maybe some of the things that we talked about resonated with you as traits you've noticed in yourself. Like Monique has admitted that sometimes she can be unavailable emotionally, or things past partners have pointed out to you. So emotionally unavailable doesn't mean you've done something wrong, right? You may not fully realize how it shows up in your relationships. I think the important thing is though, if somebody brings it to your attention, even if you don't necessarily agree, take a moment to think about it. Take a moment to think about it. So keep this in mind. When commitments approach, you want to back out. Is that you? Right? Did you make plans for a date and then you felt excited at that moment, but somehow giving up your free time is the last thing you want to do? So you back out. Right? It's important to take enough time for yourself. If you end up canceling plans with a partner or a friendship, more often than not, however, ask yourself why you feel the need to avoid spending too much time together. Why do you feel the need to avoid spending time with people, especially if you've committed to doing something? You operate by keeping your options open in a relationship. So if you want a committed relationship, at some point you will need to commit, right? But sometimes, are you the person that says, I want a non-monogamous relationship? I want to keep my options open. There might be something else, right? Instead of having a discussion with your partner about relationship goals, like long-term commitment or exclusivity, you continue swiping, going on dates, and generally keeping your eyes open for greener pastures. Which, by the way, if you are emotionally unavailable, it doesn't matter who you link up with. When you link up with that new person for that date, you're going to be unavailable to them too. But this gives you an option to not commit emotionally when you are what I would call a serial dater. It's nothing wrong with being a serial dater. I'm just giving it a title for right now. Right? So you worry about losing yourself in a relationship. That worries you. You don't want to get too close. You know, I get it. And then I'm always using disclaimers and clarifying, if you're not wanting to be in a relationship, there's nothing wrong with that, right? But if you have a fear of being in the relationship or committing to the relationship, then you might want to think about that. If you're fiercely independent, you might worry getting close to a romantic partner will involve like giving up or losing your independence in some way, right? Maybe you don't like to do things your way. Maybe you like to do things your way on your schedule and don't want to change your life to fit someone else's. And I think it goes a little bit deeper than that too, because maybe you make the plans, you want to go, and then you back out. Right? So there's nothing wrong with that, but it can make you less available. In healthy relationship, partners balance individual needs with their romantic commitment. So if you're in, and that's in friendships too, you balance the needs. You balance in any healthy relationship, partnership, friendship, you're balanced out. It doesn't just benefit you. It doesn't just benefit the other person. It may take some time, and you need to explore and to learn how to do this in a way that feels right for you. But the key is willing to do your work so that you can get to that point. Trust doesn't come easy for you. Is that you? It's very hard for you to trust for whatever reason. You were betrayed when you were younger. You were betrayed in your childhood, maybe by a parent. You were betrayed by someone you were dating. You were in a long-term relationship and you were betrayed, right? You might avoid exposing your vulnerabilities to anybody else. You might prefer to keep your emotions and thoughts locked down so no one can use them against you. Okay. This also, I want to point this out too. This also can go into grief, grief of death, where it's very difficult if you suffer from a huge loss and hey, Sister Holly, thank you for chiming in with us, joining us. So you have a huge loss in your life, and now you find it very difficult or don't like to show emotions when other people are grieving or going through that grief process, because whatever pain you endured during that significant loss you had, you don't want to revisit that pain again. Okay. When a partner urges you to open up and talk about how you're feeling, you respond by shutting down or changing the subject. For someone who are hopeless romantics or are very emotional, that's very frustrating for them. And they probably will not stay in a relationship with you too long. Right? Do you keep ending up with emotionally unavailable people? Do you have a pattern of relationships with emotionally distant partners or emotionally distant friendships? Consider whether you're getting back what you're putting out. Is that what you're putting out into the universe? That's something to think about. Okay. At first it might seem easy and fun to date people who don't ask a lot of you emotionally because you're starting off and you're dating. But if deep down you really want more from a relationship, these flings and things like that won't fulfill you long term. So really kind of consider that. Really kind of consider that. What are some things that you can do if you are emotionally unavailable? Do your work. How do I do my work? Well, how you do your work, how you overcome that, one way is therapy, right? One way is therapy. So first thing you need to do is to identify where it's coming from, and therapy will help you with this. But let me go ahead and help you just in case like you're not at the point of doing therapy work or what have you. Here's some things that you can do. It doesn't have to be permanent. It's a complex issue, and some underlying causes may be harder to overcome than others, right? So, like abuse can be difficult to overcome being emotionally unavailable if you suffered some abuses. Change only happens when someone is willing to do that work, though, right? When you can do what you can do is bring up concerning behaviors and point out compassionately how they affect your relationship, right? Encourage, if you know someone or if this is you, encourage people to talk to a therapist or offer to go to couples counseling together. Because, and let me just put this out there, people don't want to do couples therapy. I'm finding I've seen that more and more often, and it's generally because they have no idea what that looks like. That doesn't have to look like you have a mental health issue or illness. You could be having a new baby, you becoming new parents. Therapy will help you to learn to communicate and how to parent differently than what you might be accustomed to, right? Can give you some pointers. So therapy work is going to be good. If you're trying to become more emotionally available yourself, um, here's some things that you can do. First of all, identify the cause. Why am I emotionally unavailable? Am I? Ask yourself that question. If people have told you you are, listen to what they're saying. And then think about what's the root cause of this? Why am I emotionally unavailable? Um, did I get something in my childhood that caused it? Was there some trauma? Um, or my parents just not, because they had some trauma. I didn't have trauma, but maybe they did in their childhood, and so they're not as open. And I don't want to say loving, because it doesn't mean they don't love you, but don't know how to extend those emotions. If you've gone through a nasty breakup, for example, you may just need some more time before trying to get close to someone again. But it's something more serious like neglect, trauma, affects your ability to get close to people, then go see a therapist so they can help you work through your trauma. All right.
Learn how to check in with yourself as well. That's my last comment.
Yeah, check in with yourself. And that's one of the things of identifying the cause. What I've learned to do is if someone says something that I'm doing, before, and so someone says something that you're doing, before rebutting that and saying, oh, no, I don't do that. Oh, no, I don't see. Take a step back. Do I do that? Wow. And if more than one person tells you that, it's probably true, as long as they're not being a narcissist and they're being honest and they love you and they share that with you. Practice opening up. So it's often helpful to get more comfortable expressing your emotions on your own before trying to share those with someone else. So how do you do this? Keep a journal. I tell people all the time, write it down. Keep a journal, right? Now, all right, Monique, thanks. I understand that some people have very specific reasons why they don't keep journals, like they were betrayed, someone found it, whatever the case may be. But if you feel safe enough, keep a journal of your feelings, right? Pay attention to what you're feeling when you're feeling it, right? How do I do that? Well, first, you got to be aware that that's what's happening. You got to be in tune with yourself. So keep a journal of your feelings, right? Use art or music to practice emotional expressions. Talk to trusted people. You can talk to people that you know, like your close friends or family members, about emotions. And then share those emotions and those emotional issues or vulnerabilities via text first. Maybe you can text someone. Like, we have technology we can hide behind. Now, the plan and the goal is not for you to stay behind the text message, but it's to slowly get you ready to be able to talk to someone about your emotions. Because again, you're not accustomed to doing that. Don't rush yourself. Don't rush yourself. Take it slow, really. Don't rush yourself. Once you realize you've been emotionally distant, you might want to begin changing that immediately. You don't have to do that. Overnight improvement is not realistic. It didn't take you overnight to get this way, to learn these behaviors. So it's not going to be overnight for you to work through them. right? So true vulnerability, it takes time, right? Pushing yourself to open up before you're really ready sometimes triggers distress or discomfort and makes you or that person retreat even more, right? So work on yourself. Small changes instead. It's good to push yourself to step out of your comfort zone, but there's no need to leave it completely in the dust. You can hold on to your comfort zone for a while. Involve someone in this change, right? As you explore these things contributing to this, it can be uncomfortable. So, work on becoming more available, communicate with your partner or someone else that can partner with you as you work through this journey. And that's why I say a therapist, because a therapist is someone that is not going to, be, should not be judging. This should be a safe space for you, and they don't know you. So, but if you're comfortable with somebody that you know, work with somebody that you know, right? If you understand why you pull away, you may have an easier time enlisting their support. Okay. Um, some strategies that you can explore together with that person that's going to work with you: share emotions by leaving notes for each other or staying connected via text when you need physical space. And let me just say this for the person who is not unavailable, who are emotionally available. If you're with somebody that's emotionally unavailable and they are trying to work on that, give them the space if they ask for it. Give them the space if they ask for it. Because this person, the person that asks for the space, is really trying to do the work. They're not trying to do the work. They're not asking you for anything. They're just ghosting you. They're going to ghost you. Surround yourself with who you want to be. You want to be an emotionally available person, then spend time with people who are in healthy relationships, who participate in relationships in a healthy way, right? This emotionally unavailable stems from attachment issues or unhealthy relationship patterns, right? So it can help, to learn more about what healthy relationships look like if you are in, or spend time with people who are in healthy relationships. Right. So how do you know that? Think of friends or family members in strong long-term relationships. Ideally, people you spend a good amount of time with. Pay attention to how they interact with their partners. This won't give you a full picture, but it can provide you some insight, right? It can give you a smidget, a little bit of, oh, okay, that's what that looks like, right? We talked about talking to a therapist, and the bottom line in this is, I wanted you to be able to identify if you are in relationship, whether it's a friendship or a romantic relationship, or if you yourself have been emotionally unavailable, whether you've done that all of your life or they've done it all of your life, or it's something that you've adopted temporarily because trauma happened, or a bad experience happened. We can't allow a bad experience to dictate the rest of our lives. We are emotional beings, and that's just what it is. We are emotional beings, and being emotional beings, we want to feel emotion, right? Know that being a person that is emotionally unavailable or detached, that's a coping mechanism. That's a coping strategy. That comes from survival. That comes from that area in the back of the brain that says you need to be on alert at all times. This doesn't feel comfortable. This isn't natural. This is not what and when I say natural, I mean natural for the person, because it is natural to be emotional. God created us as emotional beings, men and women. Let me just repeat that. Men and women were created, and they are emotional beings, right? But life starts happening, and then we start to change the behavior and become emotionally unavailable because we are in protection mode. Our nervous system saying, that's not good, that's not good. Remember the last time we did that. Remember the last time. Remember the last time we did that. It didn't work out well for us, right? And you got to quiet that inner voice down. I remember seeing this healthy relationship and it was fine. Or I remember a time when I was in a healthy relationship and it was fine. You have to remind yourself, no, we're good. We're good. We can do this. If you're in a relationship, whether it's a friendship or it's a romantic relationship, is there a possibility of pain or things happening that, might cause you some pain? Absolutely. It's part of life. But what I'm trying to share with you is that you don't have to stay. If you're in that place, you don't have to stay in that place. If you're not in that place and you're in relationship, friendship, or otherwise with someone that is, and that is not how you want to do relationship, you get to decide for your life if you're going to stay there. You get to decide how to do relationship with them, right? You get to move on. Even if you don't want to sever ties from a friend because they're not available, you still get to move on to some healthy relationships. You don't have to stay stuck there. You absolutely do not. I did not see any comments in the chat. I see people watching. I appreciate you guys coming on and watching, but I just wanted to give some tips. Stephanie got tied up in the office, so she did text me. She did not get a chance to hop on today, and that is a-okay. But I did want to leave you guys some tips. I know there's things going to be going on this week, so I wanted to do it on today. So we changed it up a little bit. We changed it up a little more than I expected us to, but we changed it up a little bit so that I can get something in and not miss. We're on this track where we're doing this every 2 weeks. So when we miss a week, the way our schedules are set up, then it's going to be missing this week and another 2 weeks before we come on. So I wanted to make sure that I got on to share some information with you. This is a topic that has, consistently showed up when I'm talking to people about not being emotionally available or having, not having those words for it, right? They don't have the name for it, or, talking about a partner or someone who, is not emotional or don't respond or what that. And so I normally look at topics that come up in everyday life, and then that's how I come up with these topics. And so this was one of them. So because my other half is not here, and because I got to get my evening going, I wanted to jump on quickly, share some tips with you guys on being emotionally available or unavailable. And if some of these you identify with them and you want assistance and some type of guidance and kind of shifting through that, whether it's you or someone that you are in relationship with, do not hesitate to inbox me. Email me at michelledbird@gmail.com. That is my Heads Up Mental Clarity email address. You can also find me in my group, Heads Up Mental Clarity. You can find me on Psychology Today, Michelle D. Bird. Right. I'm on Instagram, Mrs. Bird LPC. You can find me there as well. And I am on ChicagoCompassCounseling.com, where I am a therapist with a group practice. So I hope that you enjoyed this 53 minutes of information. Please like, please share, please love. Please spread this around. Go to YouTube, hit the notification bell. We're on YouTube at Heads Up Mental Clarity, and hit that notification bell so you will always be notified when we go live or when there's a video posted or what have you. I hope you enjoyed the show today. It was just me, so I hope you enjoyed it. I know it's a little bit more interactive when my girl is with me. But we wanted to share this with you, and we will see you in 2 weeks on a Tuesday. Stay aware. Ashe, thank you. I appreciate it. And we will see you next time. All right. Take care.